Alright guys, this is an exclusive interview for PuroresuSpirit.com. With me is one half of arguably the hottest team on the indie scene, the Kings of Wrestling, Mr. Chris Hero, who just recently had an amazing match for Japanese wrestler Akira Tozawa in his farewell match for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla at Allstar Weekend here in Reseda. Thanks you very much for your time here, Chris, for giving us this interview. How are you feeling?
No problem. I'm a little tired. It's been a long weekend. I woke up this morning and my lower back was giving me a lot of problems. So surprisingly, in my match, I was perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, you look great. Honestly, wouldn't even know that you were suffering an injury.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'll be a little sore, but I'm okay. I'm all right. That's what we do.
That's what you do. So, basically, talking about your time, recently, you and your partner Claudio had a tour in Noah. Before we get to that, where did you start liking Puroresu or had any interest of it before you got into wrestling?
No. I mean, I knew who Muda was, I knew who Liger was, I knew Hakushi, Takamichinoku, but I didn't really know anything about actual Japanese wrestling. I mean, I'd read about like Jumbo Tsuruta and such, but I didn't really know who was who. It wasn't until I'd been wrestling about a year. I got some videotapes. I got like a Hayabusa compilation, a Takamichinoku compilation, a Kaientai, and Ultimo Dragon actually. And I just started watching from there, and I really liked Kaientai. And then I was more a fan of the junior heavyweight style initially. Because, you know, when I first started, I was more of a high flyer than anything. And it took me a little while to get into the All Japan heavyweight style, but eventually that's what I grew to love the most with Kawada, Kobashi, Misawa, Taue, Akiyama, those guys.
So what is it about the Japanese style that appealed to you or came out to you to influence your style?
The raw emotion. There's it's just a different kind of emotion. You know, you have the American style where let's take somebody like Shawn Michaels, for instance, where he's getting his ass kicked and the fans really want him to come back, and you know he makes a comeback, but it's not as I'm gonna kick the shit out of you. You know, it's more finesse, and I love that raw style from Japanese wrestling. And to me, my favorite all time is Toshiaki Kawada. And it's because Misawa was the golden child.
Right.
You know, he was Baba's boy.
Right.
He was the one, and
he was the chosen one.
He's the one with the good looks.
Right.
And Kobashi was the one with the strength. You know, he was stronger than everybody. And Kawada was kind of like the redheaded stepchild. You know, he's missing his front two teeth.
Right.
He got knocked out with a lariat. He had that shitty little mullet, and he just always got his ass kicked. And he was always so close to winning that big match, but it took him so long to do it. And I just had all the respect in the world for him from, you know, all those matches, and he finally did it. And you know, when Noah split off from All Japan, you know, he finally took the ball and ran with it. And I just fell in love with his matches. You know, his matches with Muto. Obviously, I liked his matches prior with Kobashi and Misawa and such, and his team with Taue. But when he was the Triple Crown champion, and you know, he wrestled Muto, he wrestled Tenryu, he wrestled Keisuke. It just that really drew me into his style. I just love that raw emotion.
So speaking of Noah, how did you get about you and Claudio to tour with Noah?
In 2006, it was my first year with Ring of Honor. They were using a lot of the Noah guys. They were using Morishima, Kenta. They were using Marufuji, and they also started using Shiozaki. So the office would come over with those guys as well. And that was when Claudia and I had our first run as ROH World Tag Team Champions. And they approached us and asked us if we'd like to do a tour. And you know, unfortunately, the timing wasn't that good for Claudio because he had just signed with WWE.
Right.
So I was like, oh shit, you know. I thought I'd kind of get lost out on it too, but you know, they ended up having a spot for someone on a tour, and I ended up going over as a singles guy. And then what happened was I didn't have the best tour the first time over there. I just didn't. It took me a little while to adjust to the style, and foreign, the Japanese crowds are a little hesitant to get behind, gaijin because they don't really understand them. So it took me a little while to figure that out. But then the next year came along, and Claudia and I were both able to return. And and then it was 2009 when I got to stay in the dojo, and I kind of carved out my niche. I had a singles match with Ghost Shiozaki and Korakuen, and that really helped me kind of stand out. And they just started to understand who I was, and now I've got a Japanese blog. My friend Eugene translates for me that I can really connect with the fans now, and that's something I didn't have before. And it's been a long process, but wrestling in Japan is one of my biggest accomplishments, and every chance I get a chance go over there and tour, I love it.
And you mentioned that you were able to be in the dojo. So have you experienced a difference between training in a Japanese Puroresu dojo compared to doing any kind of workout or gym workout here in the States?
It's intense, man. It's more focused on physical fitness, your neck strength, your leg strength, the squats, the bridges, and it's just, they put their bodies through so much punishment. They want to be able to withstand that punishment. So they really, really focus on that. I've been wrestling for over 10 years when I decided to give the dojo a try, and fortunately they were kind enough to let me do that. And now I can say I've trained in Japan, I've trained in England, I've trained in Mexico, I've trained throughout Europe. So I just wanted to add that to my resume, and I wanted to see what it was like, and I'm very fortunate that they gave me that opportunity.
How was, when you first started touring in Noah, how was the atmosphere like backstage, being a gaijin? Was there any kind of resentment? Was there any separation?
No, not any resentment, but just the Japanese in general are a little more closed off in that it takes a little while for them to warm up to you. And it's not a bad thing. It's just you have to earn their respect. They're not just going to be your best friend right away. So after you have a series of matches with somebody, or after you have a couple tours with somebody, that's when they kind of start to warm up to you. And it's good though, because you really feel like you earned it. The big guys in Noah, the Misawas, the Kobashis, the Akiyamas, they have such an aura about them. They're very intimidating, or at least were my first couple tours. But now that I've had countless matches with those guys, I feel more accepted by them, and now I don't have the nerves that I once had, and I can go out there and tear it down with anybody.
Was there anybody in Noah, you mentioned like Akiyama and Misawa and Kobashi, anyone that you stepped in the ring with them for the very first time, that you just felt a presence or an aura that...
Any of those guys. Misawa, I got to wrestle Misawa 5-6 times, and it's the kind... I wouldn't see him before the match. I wouldn't see him after the match. I'd just go out the ring, and sure enough, Misawa would be there. And I'd just go in there and wrestle him. And he just had an aura about him. And same with Kobashi. I got to wrestle Kobashi not this past year, but last year. And, actually, no, not. What is it? Was it last year? Shit. No, it was a year before last. I got to wrestle him. I wrestled him I wrestled him on Thanksgiving. I wrestled him in Budokan, and he's out with an injury currently, but he's still there. You see him in the gym working out. He comes to some of the touring shows with us, and he's somebody I definitely admire.
So, one of the most famous places in Japan is the Korakuen Hall. What was it like being able to wrestle there in front, and one of the most prestigious places in Japan, basically almost equivalent to the Madison Square Garden of America?
It's amazing. The atmosphere there, it seats maybe a little over 2,000 people when it's completely super no vacancy. And when you get that atmosphere, I think the best match I've ever seen personally was Kensuke and Nakajima against Kenta and Shiozaki. Just seeing them live. I probably go back and watch it on YouTube now and get goosebumps watching it, because the atmosphere for that match was just so unreal. And I've gotten to have a couple really killer matches there. It's just such an honor. And Budokan as well, man. Claudia and I wrestled Takayama and Sano last year at Budokan, and one of the highlights of our careers, us doing our stuff, and even though we lost, man, we still got a standing ovation from maybe not a standing ovation from everybody there, but we were definitely recognized, and it's definitely a good feeling.
Speaking of that match, did you feel a little bummed out that even though in the recent Global Tag League that you and Claudio participated in, even though you were able to pull off the amazing win on the first night against the defending champions, you were not able to get another title match for the GHC World Tag Team title?
Well, the way the tour was scheduled was that they weren't going to have a title shot that tour. It was basically the tour culminated with the finals of the Global Tag League. So we were going to get a title shot anyway, but we did beat them, and they can't take that away from us. So we'll be back. I'm not sure exactly what our next tour is, but we will be back, and I mean that's that's in our favor to get another shot at those guys. And being in the ring with them with their combined experience is just it's amazing.
And I gotta ask you, because I watched that match before coming here, just because it was such an amazing match. You're about what, 6'5"?
6'4".
6'4", 6'5". Takayama, I mean, honestly, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, and he always makes the Japanese wrestlers seem really tiny. Mm-hmm. But even compared to you guys, he is about the same height as Claudio.
Yeah.
What does it feel like being in the ring with a guy like Takayama?
And he's another guy that just has an aura about him. He's like a movie star. Kind of like if James Bond was in real life, he'd be like James Bond's nemesis, like this big giant ass kicking Japanese dude, taking people out with exploding knee strikes or something. Being in there with him, it just creates so much of the atmosphere of the match, Takayama's the man.
Is there any wrestler that you haven't wrestled yet that you'd want to wrestle on? It doesn't necessarily even have to limit to Noah. If you could wrestle any Japanese wrestler, who would that be? Tag team, singles?
I think Claudio and I would have a really good one with Keisuke and Nakajima. We've wrestled both of them, but I think that'd be great. I think us versus Kenny Omega and Ibushi would be awesome.
There you go, Golden Lovers.
I think us versus Machine Gun and Bernard.
Bad Intentions.
And they're Gaijin as well, but I think that could be a very interesting matchup. And I think the possibilities are endless for Claudio and I, because we could throw down with the big guys, we can get in there with the little guys. That's what we pride ourselves in, being able to match with pretty much anybody's style and have it still be a fantastic match.
Now, you said you have your blog with the Japanese. You've been connecting a lot with the Japanese fans. I've checked out your blog, and I noticed that you really do enjoy the Japanese culture. So what do you do when you have the spare time, back when you were touring Japan? What did you do in your off days? What was the best things that you did in Japan?
I like exploring. I like kind of walking around, especially in Osaka. Osaka's a very, very fun place to just kind of go and walk around and just kind of try to get lost and find your way back. I have a number of friends that'll show me around and take me to specific landmarks and such, and I kind of like shopping as well, so just going around and finding quirky stuff. The food, I love the food. They're really, it's kind of unlimited. I enjoy so much about it that I can have fun sitting around doing nothing, or I can have fun going out exploring. I like it all.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. I thank you again for your time on this, Hiro. Do you want anything to plug?
You can tweet me at @TheChrisHero or thechrishero.blogspot.com. That's my Japanese blog, or thechrishero.com, where everything's linked on there. So, thanks for having me.
Oh, one last thing. The match that you had tonight with Tozawa, it was an amazing match, an emotional match, because you guys have actually started kind of a little rivalry here. And it was also Tozawa's last match for PWG. How did you feel that the match went?
Well, wasn't too happy with the outcome. Got dumped on my head a couple times. I was worried about my lower back in the match, and I got dropped on my head. It's mixed emotions, because he's really busted his ass, and just the connection he has with the fans here at Reseda is really something special. And I'm glad I could be a part of that. That match we had at Bola last year is. Gives me goosebumps.
It's one of my favorite matches. Honestly, one of my favorite matches.
I'm really curious to see how this turns out, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it again. And I'm sure this won't be the last time our paths cross.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.